Hello gamers, Power Heal here, and today we have the AQ40 VOD review for the Priest. So we're just going to be kind of going through this like we do normally, and kind of just pointing out things that I do. Yeah, so let's just kind of get into it. So we're just buffing up here, nothing really important. We had some priests that needed some candles. Always a good idea to bring more candles than needed. Because I've definitely forgotten candles at some point, you know, so it can be helpful. Definitely try and get your buffs out well beforehand, because I think we're going to end up pulling here with me not having full mana. Just kind of is what it is, happens sometimes, but a little bit frustrating. I guess I do get full. I think I buff another group. Just kind of fast forward this a bit. It's like realizing I don't need to let these go like through 1-to-1. I can obviously fast forward. So yeah, so we're kind of about to pop in right now. I think we're gonna pull the little Anubis looking guy with, well, actually I guess those big things are the Anubis looking guy, so the Sphinx looking guy with the Anubis guys, I think. Okay, so they just pull this right away. These guys have like kind of like a toned down version of the effects from the other one. So you see I just look out for our tank there. I get a nice shield on him. Just basically healing people who are taking damage. A shield on him with a flash heal. The decision making there is, once you kind of decide to cast a flash heal, it's often better to just let it go through. If you think the person has a decent chance of survival, like once you make the decision to cast a flash heal, you're better off letting it go through, because then you can shield immediately after anyway. The only time I would kind of cancel that to cast a shield is obviously if I really thought they were going to die, and obviously on hardcore you can be a bit more discerning, right? You can use your shield earlier, things like that. But I was pretty confident that he would stay alive, so I just kept the flash shield going on him. So I don't have a mount right here, which is why we're walking. Ideally, you would actually you would kind of be moving up. Like when you engage that last pack, and this is a concept that you want to be, I talk about this in some of the other videos, but in case you're new to this one, the idea is you want to be moving past targets as best as possible as a healer. So when we pulled that 4-pack, if I had a mount, what I actually would have done is I would have kind of put some pre-shields out beforehand, is one thing I actually didn't do, period. Kind of because I thought we were just going to kill the Sphinx first. I didn't know we were going to go into the 4 Anubisath guys, but if I knew we were doing that, I would have put out pre-shields, and then I would have gotten on my mount, and I would have tried to not run like way past them, but just run far enough past them so that when we kill them, I'm already ahead of the pack, and I can start immediately running to the next position and drinking, right? And then if they engage something over here, I don't have to catch up like I did. I'm already there. I can start casting. So a little bit of mistakes here, but this is kind of going to be PuG communication, because 1 week, you pull that guy. A lot of how pulls and PuGs tend to go is that, it's just going to be what the positioning of the mobs are. So we're in the instance, and we're waiting for people, and then we finally get everybody here. The Anubisath guy is not padding into us, so we end up pulling the Sphinx guy is not padding into us, so we pull the Anubisath guys, and then we just get the Sphinx when he's coming back, whereas in other weeks we may actually just kill the Sphinx guy isolated when he walks up to the front, and then we kill the Anubisath. So the route when you're doing a PuG is going to be a little bit subjective, depending on like what's going on, who's calling that day, stuff like that, depending on what they want to do. But I'm just kind of want to fill you in on what the optimal thing you kind of should be doing there is. AQ40 is an interesting instance because I'm basically advocating for this guy to give me a mount here. Oh, also, like, you can mana burn these, but our DPS is so high, and we have 2 hunters putting Viper on this guy, and we have, other priests are probably mana burning, so I just don't really bother in most cases. But if you're in a guild that doesn't have insanely high DPS, or other people are not mana burning, you need to have them targeted, and you need to be mana burning them, because if they actually reach full mana, they will explode, and I believe it does quite a bit of damage. Like, it might even wipe you through world buffs and Flask. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't had one go off in like years, I think, at this point. So, but yeah, it's just something to note in case you are doing this like the full boomer way, right? So what I do is I just put my AQ mount. I canceled it here because we were engaging this pack, but I put my AQ mount right over my normal mount. So, it's just super easy, and I just swap it back once I leave. So yeah, that way there's no extra keybind or anything like that, and it's very natural and intuitive. When I want to mount up, I just mount up. So these guys, they have like varying mechanics. They have sometimes they have the Shadow Bolt Volley. I'm not sure if they have the Thunderclap. If they do, it's very short range, but none of these guys seem to have it. They don't do Plague at this point, and they have a Thorns on them, which is, I think, a lot of times why you see these melee randomly take damage. You'll actually see the Thorns, though. Like, this guy doesn't have Thorns. The Thorns is like, it actually looks like Druid Thorns, kind of going around the target, so... The Thorns does significant damage, for sure. I mean, you can kind of DPS through it as melee, but you probably won't be able to, like, full bore through it unless you're getting, like, constantly pumped heals. So this guy, there's a couple things you can do, right, on Prophet. So I like to get to a position where I kind of have line of sight over as many people as possible. So you're going to see that, probably, at the start of this fight. Now, there's a couple things you can do, right? I think I'm going to mount up here and walk into this fight, but realistically, I think the best option, if you have potions on you, I don't have a potion on me currently, is you pre-shield everybody, as many people as you can, right? Particularly, I try and go after people who already have Rage on them. So you see... Jack, I believe, is tanking one of the clones here, but he already has like half rage, so I don't really mind shielding him. Shunsui is gonna probably tank the boss originally, so I'm not shielding him because he doesn't have any rage right off the rip. Then you're gonna see me rotate shields on a bunch of these other warriors with rage. The DPS warriors, whether they have rage or not, it's not the end of the world in terms of pre-shielding them. You can still pre-shield the DPS warrior that doesn't have rage. But obviously I would shield the ones with rage first. The main people you don't want to shield with no rage are the tanks, right? Because those are the people that obviously want to get snap threat and things of that sort. So you can also shield rogues, right? So how my priority typically goes with pre-shielding is I'm pre-shielding warriors with rage, tanks with rage first, then DPS warriors, then rogues, then just anybody else, basically, right? And you typically don't pre-shield casters as much because there tends to just be less stuff in the game that hits the casters, so just kind of like a note about that. But I would just get as many pre-shields out as possible here, and then if you have a potion of speed, what you can actually do is use the potion of speed to go up the stairs and get to your position. I'm probably going to go in on a mount because I don't have one. So mount is kind of like the next best thing. You want to get a bunch of pre-shields and then go on your mount and then get to your position from there. Now, the mount is kind of fishy, right? Sometimes you're able to stay on the mount for longer as you enter an encounter. Sometimes it kicks you off right away. I'm not entirely sure what the mechanics are there. I think it's mostly kind of RNG, like when it detects you entering combat with the boss or whatever. So sometimes you get a bit more mileage out of it in some cases than other cases, but you just kind of have to try your best to get to where you're going. So you'll see where I kind of run to here. Yeah, so I'm just pre-shielding people. Like I said, I'm following that methodology of shielding the people with rage on them. Yeah, so I get on my mount and we're running up. And I actually get pretty far here. I actually cancel it myself to make sure I get the heal on the tank, just because I know a lot of people, when they're running in, right? They are maybe not focused on hitting the tank right away, right? Because they're just trying to get to their position. They're trying to make sure they get to a spot where they have LOS over people. So the moment I see Shunsui take damage, I'm just casting on him there, right? Because I don't even want to take the chance of letting him get into a position where he's going to be potentially gravely wounded by the boss. He has Death Wish up as well to try and get threat, right? So just more of a reason to cast a heal on him. See me and the other priests get the first heal. I think this guy did like a full on flash heal that crit. And immediately this guy pulls threat and my mouse cursor goes over to him, so I'm not sure what we're going to do. We start... yeah, I probably should have just shielded him, to be honest. There's this kind of thing where sometimes you can get into this habit of you end up casting flash heals first on somebody, even with no incoming healing, because the thought process that you have is like, well, if I cast a shield on this guy and the aggro swaps back, which most of the time it does because we have good tanks in this raid, like the main tank in this raid is a really good player. So if he doesn't have threat, it's probably due to some circumstance that is outside of his control, which means that he is going to get threat back very quickly. Which means that I'm typically not worried that somebody's going to pull aggro for even more than a couple seconds. But if you're trying to be safe, you should absolutely just pop a shield on that guy from the start, right? There's no reason to even bother with a flash shield. But you saw, I thought he was basically going to be okay. I figured the threat would swap back to Shunsui, so I just casted a flash shield. Probably a little bit of a mistake there, but given the context of our raid, I think it's a bit more acceptable of a decision, but it may not be for you, right? So maybe worth just casting a shield there. So we hop on this beam here, and I don't think... I talked about this in another video, I think, but I don't think that this will bug out the boss. I've never had it bug out the boss. So until then... See, this is... I really feel like I'm going to get into the habit next raid of just taking the hit and shielding those people. I think it's not... Like, you see me, I'm reacting in time, right? But I'm being kind of greedy and casting flash heals on them. And, like, realistically, I think I should just be shielding them. And, hey, if the threat swaps off, then it's whatever, right? I should really just be playing more proactively to save people. I'm putting, like... I don't want to say too much trust in my tank, because I do trust him. But in the event that, for whatever reason, he's unable to regain threat, it's better that I have a shield on these people, right? Or regardless of, actually, even if the tank is involved, like, even if it's one of our mind controls that's destroying one of our other players, right? Instead of anticipating and, relying on somebody else casting a sheep on that person, I should just immediately... power word shield them, because I know I'm probably like the fastest person in this raid, so there's 0 point in me casting any other heal than a shield, if I'm being like honest, and I really should break out of that habit. So that guy I actually tried to cast a shield on, I think, but he's out of range is why. So this is another thing, is like the fight kind of tends to it's going to depend on how your guild kind of kills this, right? But you want to start on that, like, starting on that side is fine, and then typically I think they go and they kill this one next, so you need to rotate over to this side. So starting where I did is fine, but then you need to be rotating, and I was a little late on the rotate, which is why when I'm coming up the stairs here, I'm not able to hit some of these targets. I'm not able to react super well. So this is a fight I honestly haven't, like, played in... to be honest, I haven't done AQ in quite a bit, right? So I'm still kind of, like, brushing up on some of these bosses that have these, like, weird mechanics with LOS and stuff like that. And it kind of depends on exactly how you tank them and things like that. Some people... In my other guilds, we've kind of actually brought all the ads together in most cases, I believe, because we all had greater arcane potions. We just pop another arcane potion. People are really good on kicks, etc. So, you can kind of do stuff like that. We're doing kind of more like boomerish strats here, so the LOS becomes much more of a factor, and I'm just kind of not used to it, if I'm being frank. So definitely some misplays here. I'm going to actually try as well starting potentially next week on this side and just see if I have enough line of sight to most of the people over here. And it may just be better to start on this side, but I think you can also start on the other side and then just rotate over to this side. It should be fine. I was just late on the rotate here. So you see now I'm actually able to hit that guy, but it's kind of too late. So, yeah. Like, part of what's going on is there's the real one, and that's the one you have to be, like, hitting, right? So, depending on where that one ends up, and I think it pretty much always seems to end up on that platform. So, you just want to get here as quickly as possible. Pre-shielding here is good. How I typically do pre-shielding, in case you guys aren't aware, and you don't really see me do it here because I know I'm not going to be able to get that many off anyway, but I'll cast a couple pre-shields and then I'll drink, or sometimes if you have like a lot of water from a mage, you can just cast a shield and then drink, because the shield has a 4-second cooldown, right? So you can actually remax your mana entirely before, like, with every pre-shield you cast. And that's what I refer to as, like, you're getting free healing for your mana, so there's, like, no reason not to do it, right? There's, like, zero opportunity cost, especially if you're able to drink back in between pre-shields. So we're just kind of casting here. We're staying a little bit towards the left side, because the idea is that we're going to be able to go on mount immediately. Also, I'm like 90% sure, and you guys can roast me in the comments if this is not true, but I'm 90% sure that you can't dispel the MCs on this particular fight, which is why you don't even see me attempting to, because otherwise I'd be all over that. But there's some debuffs in this game where even if it's like you know, Luciferon does a mind control as well. So you're thinking, right? But it's like some things are just classified differently, and the game really doesn't want you to dispel them, right? So we just stay away from these packs. Gonna shield out on the warrior there. There's still indecision there on that shield. Like, again, like, I don't know why I'm trolling a little bit, in the sense that I just need to be casting the shield and not worry about it. So this is the part where I think this was an unintended pull, but like what they were gonna do is they were gonna wait for the other pack to come from the hallway, but they decided to just get this one because it wasn't there. So this guy kind of walks into it at an odd angle. This is a little bit sketchy, because what he's trying to do is he is trying to go below to tank the mobs under the lip here, and he's gonna get out of my LOS in one. You get something in one moment here, so we're gonna let this play, and you'll see I just try and get some heals on him before he does. And then you see that we're just kind of, actually, I'll kind of like rewind that for a moment. Yeah, so he engages, get a heal on him. I think he's aware he doesn't want to LOS, so he stays kind of in LOS, and then I follow him off, and then you're just kind of basically healing people. You have to be a little bit careful here, but none of those things are going to die at that moment because the pull just started, so you don't really have to worry about getting knocked there. So we just stay out of range, and this is a good spot to pre-shield. You see I'm a little bit lackadaisical here, but these bug packs, like the one that starts with the pull down here, are the ones that start to do the bleed, basically. So what you want to do is, once the pull starts, you're kind of like probably 10 seconds into it. If you have the mana, you want to start rotating pre-shields on your melee, because they will basically, you know, get hit with these stacking bleeds, and you'll be able to mitigate a lot of damage there. So you see, and that particular guy, the Amber guy, he, I think that guy just died to fall damage. Looks like, right? Yeah. But there's no point in shielding him because we knew the, encounter was over. A shield wouldn't have saved the knuckle guy, so unless we knew he was in the air, it was going to be hard. He could have lipped or something like that. Again, innervate here from the druid, which is nice. Not necessarily needed, but I appreciate it. So we're just kind of like repositioning here because we're afraid that we're going to get knocked. And then I end up getting knocked anyway because I walk back in. This is a good example of what not to do. I'm actually kind of glad this happened. We get knocked in a weird spot. This is also why you should have light feathers on you at all times as a priest. It's kind of trolling to not have them. I would have certainly died here if I did not have feathers on me and we did not get knocked up there. That was a really, really bad knock. It was incredibly poor play for me by being in that position. We were in the right position, then we actually walked back in, I think to try and get range on somebody, but it was just not great. So the reason why you're able to be here at the start of a pull is because you're not killing them, which is kind of what triggers the kind of a late prayer healing there. Is pretty bad value, honestly. Still too close, but in this hallway it's better because the ceiling protects you, so it's not as big of a deal, but we're still too close there. You want to stay away from these packs. There's just no reason to be near them. And then what we're doing is we are going to do the bug trio last, I believe, because we're doing a sketch order. So we're just running back. I paused there because I'm wondering if there's an artifact on that guy or something. From this point on, it's way more intuitive to avoid the knocks because positioning is a lot more obvious. The problem in the tunnel and in the other area that we had is that people will not really be when people are under the lip, it's fine, but when people are in that tunnel, they kind of get into weird positions. Like some people are more towards the bug trio, some people are way more in the back, and you can actually end up getting a spread of above 40 yards between them. So you're kind of like trying to position yourself to hit the people in the front, and sometimes your positioning gets messed up. But in a situation like this, everybody's clumped on each other. It's really easy. And I should be pre-shielding. You see I'm actually getting pre-shields out on some of the targets here. You could have actually gotten more of them out, but, you know. Now we're going to pull another one. You basically pull a bunch of these back to the same spot. The shield will stay on somebody for quite a long time. So the idea is actually, like, you could be getting pre-shields out now. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay, yeah. And, you know, this will probably last for the actual bleed. Yeah, so I'm basically cancel casting flash. And then you see that you can even cast a shield there because I cast a shield on Pocheat even after the debuff had been on for a little bit, and it still absorbs the full value of the shield basically. So So that's fine. I believe the Knuckle Warrior just keeps getting blasted by like fall damage, basically. Excuse me. Yeah, so we're gonna pull even more. Starting to try and get some pre-shields out. Ironically, like, in between some of these pulls when I'm really tapped is a good time to get an innervate. Obviously, our druids, it's kind of like, I could communicate with them more, but they're just kind of innervating me when they see me low, so it's fine. Like, I appreciate it. But they're probably assuming I have time to drink here, but they're not realizing that I want to, essentially, like, I almost want to be full mana here so I can start rotating the pre-shield and have enough mana for the pull. So you can see that I end this pull at like 50-60% mana, which means that realistically you can kind of start throwing out pre-shields at like 70% mana and probably be fine in most cases, especially if you're willing to pot and Dark Rune. So you don't necessarily have to go back up to full mana, especially once you have these high amounts of mana, right, from from your flask and everything like that. So take advantage of all the mana that you do have in that aspect, and you can kind of get the pre-shields out sooner. So now we're shielding people before Shaz. I feel that we're unbooning at Shaz, basically. I feel that typically you don't have to worry so much about running into this fight on mount, because a lot of people are trying to creep up to the boss slowly anyway. Like, the rogues typically approach in stealth, right, to get even closer. So yeah, I had forgotten that we didn't even unboon yet, so I started doing the pre-shields a bit early. So now we're kind of getting more pre-shields out. Again, we're not pre-shielding the tanks because we want them to be able to get threat immediately. I think that they mentioned specifically that we're not going here, so that's why we don't look like we're going. He's telling the rogues to creep forward. I've got a bunch of pre-shields out. And then I just start casting on targets that I think are going to be most likely to take damage. Just casting some extra shields out while things are still good. On a fight like this where you know there's going to be tons of AoE, if there's any like calm before the storm, you basically want to take the that time to set up pre-shields. You see that I'm still kind of playing very conservatively with the shield, honestly, and I don't like it. I need to change this for next raid. So it's actually like really good that I'm watching this as well. There's just no point in like playing that conservatively. just like too trusting ultimately, because the idea you're thinking of is like it's fine to flash heal that guy because he's actively getting out of the Blade Storm, but it's possible that, you know, he could just be in a really bad spot where the you know, it's going to be following him, right? So depending on how the pull goes in that fight, they'll be more or less healing. Like, some of the rogues are saying they got knocked, which is just unfortunate. If you get knocked before you get your kidney off, then the ads don't get stunned, right? So this is actually a good spot for a shields and renews. So you'll see, I'll just do that. The healing in this tunnel kind of is mostly pad, though. Like, realistically, nobody's dying in this tunnel. So, but it also basically takes like no effort to heal this tunnel, so you have enough spare mana to basically toss out what you want, you know. You don't have to worry about mana that much. What I may do is if I have a better run next week, I may you know, do a run where we kind of show the improvements, because I feel like I honestly did not play this honestly as well as I should have. Sometimes my Monday is a bit tiring, and by the time I actually get to this raid, I'm about to want to sleep. There's been times where I've like taken naps before going to this raid, so yeah, I'm just basically using Renew and Power Word Shield here. There's basically like nothing in this tunnel that's gonna harm anybody. This is typically like the reset spot you're doing if you're not running straight into the boss. I asked for a lip here because I realized I don't have one. You should actually have a lip here for Visc, not for this fight necessarily. I mean, it could be useful on this fight, but Visc is really the fight where you really want a lip. You can obviously use Fade on Visc, and I'll explain that as we get to Visc, but sometimes Fade actually doesn't work. Even if, like, you actually, as a priest on Visc, you want to Fade early and then Fade again, because you want to be dropping your threat throughout the entire fight, and I'll basically break that down. This fight is very easy, though. You basically just walk into Frankus here, and you're basically just healing the tank. Now, I don't know if this is the week where I saved somebody here, one of the weeks. I start shielding the mages when there's nothing else to do, because a lot of times when the ads come in, so I can see how I shield that guy, the Dumbwind Fury, and he actually does get hit, right? So it's a really good prediction. And then I immediately start casting on. We basically save him with that shield and the heals on him. So that's actually really good. And whenever you see somebody's frame light up in this fight that's not the tank, and you're like, what's going on here? Because, you know, I don't see anything. That means there's an ad on the periphery that is coming into the group, and is most likely targeted on that person that you see red in your frames. So this is a good example of using your frames to basically help save people. And in this particular instance, it's actually, most of the time, it's very easy to react to. It kind of depends. Like, once the ads get close, it's a lot harder, right? But usually at the start there, like, you'll see it start by there'll be a red border around somebody that's not the tank, and you kind of know that ad is closing in. You just cast a shield on that person, so it's definitely a good play there. We saved that guy. I think we ended up saving Snacks as well, with just some normal flash heals. So this fight is another pre-shield fight, because you're going to probably... The first volley is definitely going to go off before your shields run out, so... It's pre-shielding a ton of people. This is also not a fight where... you really have to worry that much about getting in quickly, because as you can see, you can basically run with the team in most cases. A lot of times they're not going to drag the boss like super deep in, right? You see my HPS goes up crazy there when the poison volley goes out. So again, we're just poison volleying people. You want to be prayer of healing as well. See how I actually start the prayer of healing like before? You kind of pick up the timing on prayer of healing. And I'm standing in... I don't really care though, because I know I can just out heal it. But I was standing in Poison Cloud. I don't have a sapper on this character. I know... see how I had threat right there? I had threat for a moment, and that's really bad. Because actually, I'm going to pause and talk about the threat situation. Okay, so basically, the problem is when this splits into ads, right, there's no centralized aggro for the DPS. So, for example, like, unlike at the start of the fight where the warrior runs in and he's attacking Visc, there's really nothing like that where he's able to build up threat. Now, he can go and build up threat on the little ads, which I think does contribute to his overall threat on the quote-unquote boss when it reforms. But the problem is that a bunch of other people are doing threat on the ads as well, right? So he, at this point, is not... he's not generating, like, primary threat. And the other problem is that you're getting, like, all the healing aggro. So if you're healing during that phase, you're getting a ton of aggro. Now, you can obviously, you know, circumvent this by just not healing during that phase, but then you're kind of passing up on an opportunity to catch up. When I do my Paladin video on this, you'll actually notice that the guy basically, he gives like a big warning. He's like, don't heal, don't heal. He tells everybody, because he's just trying to make the run go as smoothly as possible. On Paladin, Paladin's actually the safest person to heal in this fight during the transition, because you can always just bubble, right? And you can actually bop somebody else if they get threat as well. So having Paladins in the raid is just super OP as always. On Horde, you basically have to... You want to fade early, actually earlier than I even did in this fight, and then you want to fade on the transition as well. And then if all fails, you would use your lip if the boss is like targeting you. Like if you have threat here on your frame and it's red when the boss has just come back together, that's where you... you just, you lip, for sure, and you'll be okay. So, luckily, the boss went back on the tank. Another thing is, when the boss is about to reform, he's going to do a poison volley very quickly. So, precasting your Prayer of Healing at this point is really strong, especially because any type of shields or barriers people have, or nature protection potions are unlikely to be on at this point unless people repop to them, right? So you'll notice at the start of the fight, sometimes you can get a little bit trolled with the poison volleys because people have nature protection potions on, they have their own barriers on, like maybe mage armor or whatever it is, right, to reduce some of the damage. Priests may have a shield on themselves already going into the fight, so you'll see that first volley doesn't really do much damage, it's kind of misleading. But the first volley, once he reforms, will pretty much certainly do a bunch of damage. So you saw me casting the Prayer of Healing there, and we get a bunch of value out of it. So again, we're basically just either catching up on heals or we're shielding, and then we're already casting Prayer of Healing, right? And then getting heals off. These people are standing in the poison. It's okay to stand in the... This is going to sound like a cope, but like when I was standing in the poison earlier, the boss was frozen. And when the boss is frozen, he's not attacking the tank, I believe, nor is he doing the poison volley. So it's just basically a matter of time before he shatters and you kind of go into the blob phase. When you're standing on the poison cloud and he's not frozen, it's kind of bad because now you're taking damage or slowed and you still can get hit by the poison volley, right? So try not to do that. So you see, again, the Prayer Healing goes off basically right when the damage comes out, right? And we're just, we're spamming here. What I don't realize here is, like, it's because I'm just not used to doing things. And this boss is frozen. Now, when you first encounter the boss, right, he's bigger. And I believe this is because he gets smaller over time as a percentage of his HP. So see how he's like really low now, right? So he's really low. He's about to die, so he's really small, and he's frozen. You can see I don't know if you can see, but see this. This is like the almost like the frost trap, the modern retail frost trap kind of symbol around him that shows that he is encased in ice. So he actually can't cast any abilities right now. So I'm pre-casting Prayer of Healing, and I'm kind of trolling. I should just be healing other people. This is kind of really bad, but I just didn't notice that he was actually fully frozen. So see how he had you could see right before he died that he had the freeze thing on him. So once he basically stops moving completely is when he stops casting abilities, and that's when you want to stop Prayer of Healing. Because at that point, there's not going to be any more Poison Volley, unless obviously your group is already low, and then you can Prayer of Healing. But if your group is topped off, and he's doing that, then yeah, he's not gonna Poison Volley anymore, so it's a complete waste. So, a lot of mistakes from me in this raid. This is maybe not my best performance, but it's kind of okay, right? I don't mind reviewing a raid where I don't really have a great performance, as long as the raid itself isn't completely in the gutter. Because if the raid is like completely trash, then it actually just also becomes hard to show people things, right? Like when everything's going wrong. This is actually sort of an ideal scenario where like maybe I'm not playing super great, so I can point out a lot of the deficiencies, and then but the raid as a whole is still going fine, right? Like we're executing on the whole. So these poisons can be a bit nasty. There's some, like, that's the one that does a lot of damage, I think. The other one is, see, this one that was on the Warlock, doesn't really need to be dispelled super fast, I don't think, in most cases. It's more the, the normal-looking poison that does a lot of damage. There's also deadly poison that gets applied. It's probably not really that big a deal unless it, stacks high. We can't dispel poison anyway, so... You can see I'm trying to drink walk a bit here. This is kind of bad. I should just be going right in, especially on this pack, actually. Like these scorpions they're overrated with how deadly they are, but they're a little bit deadly. So you don't really want to be, lagging behind here. See, this is bad, right? I'm late to heal that guy because I was lollygagging around drink walking. Drink walking in this instance, once you get your mounts, is not. It's not that you'll never do it, obviously, and it obviously depends on the pace that your guild is going at and stuff like that. The more lackadaisical your guild is about engaging things, the more you can drink walk. But as you kind of refine your strategy here more, you are going to basically, just be kind of go, go, go. Now, I want to point something out here. Obviously, as a priest, we can't really do anything with these mobs. I think that, what I've done in the past is I've actually tried shielding people when there's downtime like this that have itch. And you can do that anyway, because there's no harm, really, if there's nothing else to heal. But I'm 90% sure that if somebody takes a charge after the itch develops into the poison, then there's nothing that saves that person, even your power word shield. I think it's an insane overkill from what I remember. So be a little bit careful, because if you do use a shield on an itch target, what could happen is you're now on the GTD. So if somebody does need a shield in the next 1.5 seconds, or technically 4 seconds from you, because you're still on cooldown from the shield itself, that can be bad. So yeah, you see that these people are developing itch. And also, it's a bit of a misnomer. If you read how this works on the wiki, okay, it'll say that a target gets itch, and then it goes in, that transitions into the poison, right? That does happen, but it's also very possible for the target just to get poisoned, because not only do these things apply itch, they apply the poison themselves. So you actually saw this guy, he had a poison on while he still has itch on, okay, and then it got dispelled. So just something to kind of keep an eye out on. And what should really be happening here is a druid should be abolish poisoning all of these targets that have itch. because the idea is the abolish poison lasts, so when the itch expires and turns into the poison, you have a chance of like instantly cleansing that poison with the abolish that's on them that you just don't have if it's not on. Now, obviously, as a druid, you want to be instantly casting abolish poison on these targets as the itch turns into the poison, but you basically want to have abolishes on some of them beforehand, right? And then you're trying to get the guy, like, so you want to have the most recent one that's going to turn first. That's the one you want to target actually first with your abolish, like hard casting it on it. The other guys, you want to be putting abolish on them, basically, right? So I guess you could do it either way, to be honest, but I typically like to do it, the one that's about to expire and turn into the poison, that's the guy you're going to be targeting, because you know you can save him, right? And then a lot of the other ones are going to be expiring and turning into poison at the same time, so that's why you want to have the pre-abolishes out, so that they basically abolish, hopefully, as the poison actually comes online. I know this is a priest guide, but I feel like it's just worth mentioning, because if you're a priest, you can kind of give this information to your druids, right? So in a situation like this where there's something like critically important that another class should be doing, I will cover it in all the videos pretty much, because I know that not everybody is watching every video, right? Like if you're a paladin, you may not be watching the priest video. If you're a druid, you may not be watching the priest video, etc., right? So so I notice you see I fade here, because I got aggro. You want to stay back here, because I'm pretty sure being in the back lowers the chance that you are going to get targeted with the poison unless you get threat. And as a priest, you're basically kind of screwed if you get targeted. You just have to you're at the mercy of somebody else dispelling you, and when you have world buffs on, that's bad. I think you could lip the charge potentially, so that's something else you could do. My lip is still on cooldown though, so I'm vulnerable. And you could actually free action potion as well, from what I've heard. I think if you just free action potion, the one thing I'm unsure of is if you free action potion reactively. I don't know what it does, and I actually don't know if the free action potion prevents the itch application or if it prevents the itch from turning into the poison. But one of my raid leaders, when I was on my rogue, was telling people to FAP during this section, so worth keeping in mind there. You can probably Google it or just look it up on ChatGPT, the interaction between FAP and this poison. He took a big chunk of damage there. Like, see, when I see stuff like that, it almost makes me wonder, is like, did he get charged? I don't think he did, though, because I don't think he had a thing on. So I fade here because I'm under threat. You can see that sometimes, especially on the last one I faded on, I didn't lose threat immediately. Somebody still had to, like, take it. So fade is kind of like I don't want to say it's an overrated ability. You should always be pressing it when you have threat, right? For the most part, unless you're trying to have threat. But don't expect it to be like a panacea. You know, it's not going to necessarily completely save you. So playing like hyper aggressively, getting a bunch of threat, and then thinking you're going to be able to like fade it off is not a real thing in a lot of cases. So you should obviously be casting fade, but be mindful that it's not necessarily going to save you. Luckily, we have a lot of damage, especially with Dark Moon Fair. Right, so... So Huhuran, this is another fight where it's kind of like there's tension between trying to, get as many shields as possible and get into the boss. This is another case where if you're actually very confident in your mana pool and you have dark runes, like a lot of dark runes like I have here, you could actually use a potion of speed to engage this fight as well, right? You could basically just pre-shield until the last second and then potion of speed to get into range. There's kind of various things you can do here. Like, what I like to do is I have a pretty good feeling for the aggro radius of the bosses, right? So a lot of people tend to play scared. You see how like they're not even close to the boss here and they're in the back. Now, the reason why they're so far back is because this boss does have a large aggro radius. Like, it's probably like here, or something like that. It might be a little bit deeper in. It's really in the back of the room, so it's they definitely don't have to be here. That's why you see I'm in front, but you can't really go too much farther than I am here. Like, you can't be like full sending it. Like you don't want to be here. Like, here the boss pulls for sure, right? Even if it doesn't look like it. So people are standing back because they're afraid, and as a healer, you can exploit this. Obviously, the better your guild is going to be, and the more they know the aggro range, the more precise you have to be, and maybe that potioning in strategy applies more. But you can see that we're basically just cheating here because we're applying shields while we're like inching in ourselves, and everybody else is like afraid. And they're not really yelling at me because I think they know that I know what I'm doing. Like, the leaders here are pretty familiar with me, so they don't really care what I do because I never wipe us. So you can see, like, like, we haven't pulled yet. We're pretty deep in. Once the guy gets to, I would just assume around, like, right here maybe is when, if the boss is kind of retreating even more, but we'll see, like, when it pulls. Yeah, see, it's actually about, like, right there, and the boss pulls. So knowing the range, and just, like, if you're new, what I would suggest is just pay attention on the pulls, and then you can kind of see what you can get away with leeway-wise, and that allows you to play a bit more aggressively with pre-shielding and stuff like that, because you can get more of them out while being on foot. Because obviously, your mount having a 3-second cast time, then you can't cast while you're on your mount without dismounting. So, trying to get in here on a mount is a little bit annoying. If you can be ahead of your raid as they're coming in on mount, it gives you a buffer. Or, like I said, you can potentially just potion the speed and keep pre-shielding if you don't think you're going to need your mana pot. So you want to spread out here as a healer, because what he'll do is he'll cast a poison bolt, and it basically silences everybody it hits and does a bunch of, like, ticking damage. So you see that I'm casting some initial heals on our tank, or actually I was just getting some shields off or whatever. And then I'm moving kind of into position, right? So immediately I'm trying to get away from most of the people. It's okay to be near like 1 or 2 people because it's unlikely this guy is going to get the bolt. See, I think the poison bolt just went into melee. I didn't even know that was possible, actually. Oh, it might be because shamans... Looks like it hit this guy as well. Maybe the shaman is in the melee. I think normally it's supposed to go on a range. I don't think it actually goes on melee, but it's possible. So you see they're taking a bit of damage. So we're just healing them up. This is another reason why it's good to have pre-shields out. And then we actually destroy this boss. So the boss is basically already in the point where it's doing the Nova. And I don't have too many other pre-shields out, but you want to get pre-shields out at this point. You notice some of these people, this is why I like to have, debuffs on, even stuff that isn't necessarily super pertinent to me, because you can see here that we have Blood Fury on these people, which means it's going to be more beneficial to shield them. Hopefully you see me. Yeah, I cast a shield on that guy. That guy doesn't have Blood Fury, so I heal him. This guy, he has a weakened soul on him, so I have to heal him, obviously, right? But this guy is somebody that I could shield, so when Blood Fury is up specifically, it's obviously going to be way more beneficial to cast a shield than cast a heal. And yeah, we don't really get a good chance to set up for this because the damage is actually so high. But especially if you're in like a guild with slower DPS, what you should be doing is, as the boss is like approaching, I think it's 30% when he enrages, or she enrages, so at around like 40-ish percent, 45%, depending on how fast your DPS is, you want to be getting pre-shields out to try and take some of the edge off on these people when the Nova is going to go out from the boss. And also, you see how all the melee are under the boss? This is good because if the tank is close to the boss, he can actually die very easily because the poison bolt hitting him with the boss hitting him while the boss is enraged can be very deadly. So, yeah, you see the boss just gets completely annihilated. It's a very low HP boss, just honestly. So the reason why I have they mark me with the nipple here is because I'm going to be the range stack person because they trust me to do that. So basically, how you want to handle these packs in most cases, you have 2 stacks. and you're just waiting for this pull. So when they pull with the Hunter Pet, it's actually really good because what it sometimes lets you see what's going on. Because the pet is going to go in first, and it's going to be like the guinea pig. Now, if it gets hit with like a Shadow Bolt, that means that the boss has Shadow Bolt. If it gets Plague on it, it means the boss has Plague. If it gets hit with a Meteor or a Thunderclap, then that means that the boss has Meteor or Thunderclap, obviously. So you can basically root out what type of ability these things have before they get to you, which is really helpful. Your raid leader is probably going to call this out as well, and it makes things really easy. So basically how this works if you're in the range stack, which you will be because you're a healer, is if the raid leader calls out Shadow Bolt, that's the only thing you have to really worry about. Because Shadow Bolt means you have to go in, okay? Because Shadow Bolt only hits people that are at range. So if the raid leader calls Shadow Bolt, you want to go in, and you want to go in early. Because if you don't go in early, what's going to happen is you're going to be caught at range. And if the boss gets to here and it's Shadow Bolt and you're still here, you're going to be getting beamed with a Shadow Bolt that does a lot of damage very regularly. Like, it just basically keeps casting and hitting you. And you're kind of going to be screwed because you're not going to be able to live unless other people are directly healing you, because you're not going to be able to move in time while healing yourself. It does an insane amount of damage. So you're basically cooked if other people are not healing you, which is why you really want to be on the ball with the calls. Now, the boss will do this other thing called Thunderclap too, where it'll hit all the melee. You don't want to be in when that's happening. Now, I believe the boss will never Thunderclap and Shadow Bolt at the same time, but if he did, you would need to be in anyway, because the Shadow Bolt is worse than Thunderclap. Now, you'll see the Meteor coming in. This is going to hit the front group, okay? Now, I think that they called Thunderclap. They may have made a mistake here and called for both, right? So like they may have called Shadow Bolt and then like, oh no, it's Thunderclap. So that's why we stay out, because the Thunderclap is radial around the mob. So there's no reason to be in the melee getting hit with everybody else unless you need to be in there because Shadow Bolt would be hitting you from range. So you can see we're just healing people here. The damage here is like when there's no Shadow Bolt going out, the damage is pretty mediocre. So that's why I don't really mind healing the pet there a bit. It's whatever. He's going, see how when he's fire in his hands, he's going to explode. Now the radius isn't that big, but you can definitely die to this. Honestly, a good way to deal with this, especially as a healer, if you pop a greater fire protection potion before this, like before you even go into the raid, it's going to be on by the time you get here unless you wipe, and that'll save you from one of these detonations if you mess up. But I mean, really, you shouldn't be messing up. It's really easy. You actually see I have one on. I don't have one on for this trash specifically. I have one on for Twin Emps, which I'll talk about when we get there. So we're just going to... yeah, actually, I shouldn't skip ahead because skipping... like, this VOD is so big that even when I try and skip a little bit... I mean, I'll skip in some cases, but... Okay, so we get told it's Shadow Bolt, so immediately I run in, okay? Now, I'm not sure if they know it's Shadow Bolt because it's hitting the pet. It could be that they know because it didn't do one of the other things on the pet, right? I'm not really entirely sure how they're discerning that because my camera wasn't angled to see if the pet got Shadow Bolted, but... so we're basically just standing on each other here. See how, like... So... the boss, like, what should have happened here, technically, is we should have ran up to the mob, but there was a bit of hesitation, and it seemed like the Hunter Pet, like, I don't know if the boss was, I think he still had aggro on the Hunter Pet at the time, so the Hunter Pet didn't get pulled back far enough, so the boss was far enough away from us where it hit everybody with a Shadow Bolt, and you see it does, like, 1,600 damage. That's really bad, right? That might even be, like, the lower end. It could possibly hit harder, so... But we're not going to really take another shot like that because we're all now in melee, right? And you see that plagues are going out. This guy has plague. Where is he? Can't even see it. Maybe he doesn't have plague. He just is... I think he's about to get plague. Is this it right here? Yeah, oh yeah, there it is. That's the plague thing. Yeah, so I tossed a shield on him because I saw he got plague. So your cell is supposed to change. Your cell is supposed to have an option where you can like highlight plague and the poison from the other guys going on people. That does not work for me, and I've had people ask me, how to fix this, and I think that they just have to update the add-on, and I think unfortunately it's a retail add-on, so I don't know if the guy is going to get around to doing it. It's possible it's been patched since this video has come out, but I'm unsure. So I found a weak aura that I haven't tried yet, but I'll like post that to you guys in the community, like there's a feed where I can post things on YouTube, so I'll just post that to you guys. I'll actually try and include a link to it in the description, and we'll just see if that works. And what it does is it highlights plague on your raid frame. It just makes it easier to see. So, yeah, Cell doesn't seem to be working with these things for whatever reason. But we're just, we're prayer of healing on our group. We're healing other people. You'll see random people are getting threat. That's because these little guys spawn ads. So that's why like the shaman had threat there and stuff like that. You have multiple warriors getting threat. So Jack now has the plague. If you get the plague, it's very important on a boss, on a guy like this is a great example, right? Because this guy is Shadow Bolt. So if you get plague and you run all the way out to over here to Guam, right, you're going to get destroyed because now you have plague on you and you're just getting absolutely wrecked by the plague and the Shadow Bolt. That's really bad. So see the positioning on these two? This is exactly where you want to be. You want to be like here, 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 here. You want to be still in proximity to the boss so you're not getting Shadow Bolted. You want to be proximity to the raid so they get healed. The plague radius is actually not that large. It's probably like something like this, right? So you could actually even fit like another guy over here probably and be fine. It's also very obvious if you have combat text on because you'll see yourself shredding the raid. So, and this is not like the Veil Bomb that kills people all at once or the Baron Bomb. You'll see it does ticks over time. So if you're over here and you're still ticking people, it's fine. You can just, back off. And you'll be good. Okay, so the guy he's doing the flame thing again. He's about to explode. See, he just did another fire. Again, the radius on this, I believe, is not accurate, right? It goes out further than the actual damage goes out. So you're just healing people. Now they have a bit more freedom with positioning because the ad is dead, so there's no Shadow Bolt coming out. Oops. Okay, so we pull with the thing again. So see how we just did Thunderclap? So we know this is Thunderclap. So they immediately say 2 groups. The Thunderclap Meteor, so you might be thinking like Meteor is better if it's split through the whole raid. It doesn't matter really. Like both stacks are fine to survive Meteor. So like even though there's Meteor and Thunderclap here, you don't need to walk into the melee to help soak the Meteor. It's just better if you stand over here. Because the whole raid getting Thunderclap is not worth it, because I believe it also reduces the cast speed, which is bad. This is a great spot to use Prayer of Healing on Priest, even on Horde. One thing to be careful of is... be careful if you are assigned to a tank, and you're not raid heals, be careful of like letting your tank die on these pulls though, because your tank can actually take quite a bit of damage, especially if they eat like a Shadow Bolt going in, and they're like if there's a Shadow Bolt and then a Meteor or something like that, they can get chunked out quite a bit. So you have to be careful. The bosses, these guys also hit kind of hard. Like they're not like super crazy, but they're not pushovers. It's me trolling and Not using my keybind on my rune. I think that guy died, that pet died to Thunderclap plus the plague. I should just shield the pet. It's trolling. There's somebody in the raid. So he's not moving, so I was about to move to the side, but then he ended up moving. That's why we were all getting wrecked here. People were talking to him. Oh, I wonder if it went on. Oh. It went on the Hunter pet. And I think the Hunter pet, what happened is when the Hunter resummoned his pet, it's actually super unlucky. It went on the Hunter pet as it got resummoned, I think. And the pet was basically in the middle of the raid, and that's why people were like, move or something. Actually, it looks like it might have been on the juice box guy. Okay, yeah. But somebody was like, bird. Maybe it was both. In terms of like where to run, so that guy just he pulled threat. That's nothing you can do there. In terms of where you run when the guys get the fire hands, like typically if you're doing a speed run and you are already on the boss, right? You would just keep going forward. In fact, from what I remember from our speed runs, is we would tank. We would basically tank thunderclaps, or what you would do is you would stand right outside thunderclap range, and then when the mob was about to die, you would run close, and then if it was exploding, you would just run past it. But since we're just doing like PuG stuff, we obviously just run away, right? It's fine to just run away. So yeah, it looks like we're... Is this the fight? Yeah, I think that was the last one. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so on this fight, you basically want to check your sides. And there's a lot to say on this fight. I'm going to make a separate video on this fight, just for people that don't want to watch the whole thing, because it's probably important that people understand what's going on in this fight, because this is honestly probably it's the most technical fight in the instance, and it's one of the more technical fights in the game. Not saying that it's super technical or hard, but it just is the most. So this is one where if you don't understand the fight, you will wipe to it. Like if Limit went into this fight, they would wipe to it if they didn't know what was going on, right? And that, like, just because, like, it's a pure mechanics boss, and, like, if you had no idea what's going on, like, you would just wipe. Doesn't matter, like, how good you are. So, basically, you want to start with getting shadow protections out. Now, you obviously want it on the warlocks, but you also want it on the warriors that are going to be tanking, right? Because, a lot of times, if the aggro swap is not clean, the boss that is the one that's doing the shadow bolts will actually be hitting your tank warrior on the side it swaps to. So, like, for example, Shunsui is going to start on the right side with me and other people, right? He's going to tank the melee mob because the melee mob is on the right, the caster's on the left. Now, the moment the swap happens, there's a good chance you're going to see the caster boss, when he swaps from this side to this side, is going to be targeting Shunsui because he may be in proximity, like in close proximity to Shunsui, and that's what, I believe it's like an aggro reset on the swap. So the idea is that the person that's closest to the boss is going to have like initial threat, and it's probably going to most likely be the tank if the warlock doesn't understand how to get in position, or if the tank is just too close to the mob. So there's a good chance it's going to actually hit the warrior a couple times. Likewise, mages, it's very easy for them to pull threats on the shadow guy, especially if they don't know what they're doing with their ignite. And you want to have shadow protection on the mages as well. So shadow protect the warlock, shadow protect the mages, and then shadow protect the tanking warriors at least. And you should be good. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then you're going to get told aside. There's different strategies for this. I typically just stay on one side. Especially if you're just trying to kill the boss, this is the best strategy by far. It's the easiest, simplest strategy. If you try and swap too much, going from side to side, you have to be somewhat careful because both of the bosses do very high damage. And if you're not there for the tank right as the swap happens, you can really kind of get screwed. Like, the tank can just die. So it's never worth it even being like a second late, in my opinion, if you're just trying to kill the boss. If you're raid healing on this fight, what I would suggest is I would still probably pick a side, but you can play the middle if you want. But what I would do is I would lean towards whatever side you think is weakest. So if you think healing tends to be weakest on the left side, then I like lean towards the left side and then, play middle for some of it and then lean towards the left when needed, or vice versa if you think the right side's the weakest. Also, people tend to not be... there's more of an intuition to heal the warrior tanks than the warlocks, even though obviously the healers will get told to heal the warlocks a ton in this fight. So if you're one of the people that kind of, actually knows what's going on, and you see that the warlock is kind of getting blown up because not enough heals are coming in on him, then what I would do is maybe try and like make sure that you're always on the warlock side. So wherever the caster boss is, you're like on that side. So for example, let's say the caster boss starts on this side, right? You're going to start towards the middle, but you're in range of your warlock. And then when the warlock swaps over to the other side, you just follow him and stay at max range from there, and you basically play middle. So you can do that if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, just stay on whatever side they tell you to stay on, and and just heal the tank there. That's the most important thing. If you stay on your side and you heal the tank and you just tunnel the tank, and you don't try and get super fancy healing the other people or anything like that, you're going to be absolutely golden. Also, if you don't know what you're doing, it's even more of an advantage to just heal the tank, because the more healing you actually do on this fight, the more attention you're going to get from random bugs that people aggro. Because melee DPS are the worst players in the world in every possible world, so they're always going to spawn a bunch of these bugs, basically no matter what grade guild you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in 5 Sunders, I'm sure it happens there too. It might even happen more there because people are monkeys. So the more healing you're doing, the more danger you're putting yourself in, essentially, right? And if you're not quick on your fade, if you don't have lips bound or anything like that, then it might be a problem for you if suddenly you end up getting 5 to 6 bugs on you. So yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, just stand on whatever side they tell you and heal the tank. You'll get a good example here as I go into this fight. Okay, so we're just kind of waiting. Just refreshing some of our buffs. Something to note on this buff right here, there seems to be a bug. So if you're ever let's say I had 50% mana and I need to reapply this buff, you're better off just regenerating your mana and going into the fight with max mana. If there was a pull 30, you're at 40% mana and you try and apply this Krieg Stout, what's going to happen is it's going to bug out and you're going to get the stout on you, but you're not going to be able to re-drink, which is terrible, and you're going to go into the fight with no mana. So only ever apply this before a boss or something if you're at full mana. Otherwise, I mean, who cares? It's 30 spirit. It's not going to change anything over the course of a fight, right? It's not worth being down mana. Okay, so the boss is basically starting. We want to be obviously not super close, but we want to be in range of the tank, right? So the bosses have high proximity aggro, so you don't have to be really far up. Okay, so this guy's walking in. Yeah, that's our tank. We're in range of him the entire time. Immediately starting heals. We're starting with flash heals, just to kind of because we start a little bit behind, so we're trying to catch up. Now, the worse your guild is at this, the more you're going to have to use normal heals, which is fine. You can absolutely heal this fight with normal heals. There's no, arguably it's potentially even better to heal the fight with normal heals. Obviously, like, I like using Flash Heal in this situation because I know we're going to kill the boss before I go I have Mana Pot available, I have Dark Rune available. If I need to, I can get another reset of these. We have Innervates on the Druid if needed. There's no way I'm going in this fight unless something catastrophic happens. And then it's probably a wipe anyway. So I'm not worried about going If you are worried about going you're in a situation where your guild isn't as good, don't worry about it. Just start with, heal. Like, I use heal rank 4. You can use greater heal rank 1, greater heal rank 2. Any of those basically work. I'd say that's around when you want to be on the spectrum. And you're just, like, cancel casting on the boss, right? Now, at the start, obviously, don't be afraid to use Flash Heal to kind of catch back up like I'm doing here. But then once you kind of get into a rhythm, you can swap to using your more efficient heals, cancel casting them, you'll be fine, you won't go so don't worry about that. Obviously, you want to be ready to use things like shields or Flash Heal in the event that you do have to catch back up if something goes wrong. But you can absolutely do this fight. See this debuff? That's Unbalancing Strike. That's the big hit that he does. I believe this, like, lowers the armor, or I think what it does is it makes it so they can't dodge, or something like that. It, like, lowers their dodge. Basically makes them more vulnerable after the hit. But honestly, the hit is the big part of this. Like, it's rare that a tank is going to die to the Unbalancing Strike effect once they've been brought back to full health. Mostly what it's going to be is the Unbalancing Strike hits really hard, and then because they have nerfed secondary mitigation after that, then they're obviously more vulnerable while they're low. So if they get hit for 80% of their health, they're low, or they're more vulnerable for that next 20%. But as long as you pick them up quickly, like we did here, it's fine. I toss a Renew out on this guy. This is not something I recommend doing if you don't have the mana. I've been doing this more on fights where I know that I'm going to have more than enough mana pool, right? Because if you have more than enough mana pool, then there's no reason to not use a spell like Renew, right? It can only help. But if you know that your mana pool is going to be stretched, then you don't want to be wasting any mana on spells like Renew. So just something to keep in mind there. Like, Renew is not mana efficient here, but if you obviously have the mana, then it's good to just have for a bit of extra insurance. I've been doing this more and more, especially on you notice that we're kind of taking it easy this run. I've been at full mana a lot of the run. We've been able to drink back to full. So I'm not pressured to conserve mana in a way that I would be in, like, a Blackwing Lair run with this group, because they're kind of taking it really slow, easing players into this, because there's a lot of players in this group that haven't done AQ40. So if you're in a situation like that, feel free to, like, use Renew more liberally, as obviously you're going to be able to get the mana back. But the more kind of like speedrunning-esque you get into, that's where Renew becomes bad to have on, like, a tank, basically, right? It's just see another Unbalancing Strike. We put a shield on after the Unbalancing, is fine. We actually hit him with a Flash Shield into a shield. Now, this is the first swap, okay? Now, the best way to do this fight is to just have the boss targeted the whole time. I have Veclor targeted immediately, okay? So I target him, and we can immediately see in a second. You notice that the melee one, so this is the tank on the other side. He aggroes before the caster one. Typically, this guy, he, like, stands around like a doofus for, like, a second before he realizes what he's gonna do. So he's on the Hunter Pet, okay? And that's gonna swap almost immediately, I think. But you see, watch, it's gonna be a big chunk of damage. Oh, he just got crushed. Okay. I didn't expect that. And then he actually goes on the... is this the right Warlock? I think this is not the right Warlock. Is it? Oh, it is. This guy. His name just looks weird. Okay. So yeah, he goes on the Warlock. I realize that I'm not in range of the Warlock. Sometimes they tank him. And the reason why the Warlocks tend to tank on the stairs is because there tends to be less bugs on the stairs. And they don't want to get hit by an exploding bug while they are taking a Shadow Bolt and then get essentially comboed. So that's why they stay on the stairs. So I shield him. It's going to absorb the... See, it just absorbed the thing. You notice that the bolts do a lot of damage, right? Because the shield is like a 1 point something K, and it basically goes through the shield and does a decent amount of his health. So now we're just moving over a little bit to make sure we're in range of him, and make sure you're in range before. Right, that was a little bit of a mistake there, being too far over in the side, but it's whatever. Like I said, I'm using flash heal here because I know it's going to be fine, and I want to heal people in between as well, right? But if you're struggling, just tunnel the boss. So a couple things I'll talk about here. Don't worry too much about healing other people in this fight if you're struggling, right? It's really their personal responsibility to not die, because there shouldn't really be almost like any damage going out in this fight outside of the tank damage. But what's going to happen is people are going to aggro the bugs. Those are going to do damage to them. They're going to get hit by explosion bugs. That's going to do damage to them. They're going to get hit by blizzard. That's going to do damage to them. So it's really up to people. Like if your guild doesn't have the damage and you don't have the mana as a healer, because the fight's going to take forever because your damage is low, you need to just prioritize the tank, and other people just, they have to deal with it. They have to just play better. That's the main thing, right? So you see that the boss swaps back, that they teleport again. That's what the bosses do. They teleport positions every like so many seconds. And we're back on Shunsui. This is the melee boss. You notice that I had the other boss targeted for like a millisecond before it swapped. It was on the mage, okay? That's likely because the mage was too close to the boss on the other side. So when this boss swapped back to the other side with the casters on it, the mage was too close or something like that. That's okay. I think the warlock immediately ended up getting threat back, it's fine. But this is why you want to just have the boss targeted, so you can see what he's targeting immediately after the swap. Because that, you can actually save a mage. Like, I think that the aggro got ripped off this guy immediately. But let's say he was, basically having to tank this boss for 2 to 3 seconds. He dies there if you're not quick on the swap, but you can keep him alive easily if you're paying attention. And this is where the shadow protection on the mages comes in, right? Because it just helps him out immensely if he actually does get targeted. Okay, so we're going to continue to play this. Yeah, it looks like it's right on the warlock, back on the warlock on the other side, so it's fine. We got the renew back up. We are just healing Shunsui. You see I potted early, right? You want to always pot early in this fight. I potted basically close to get back to 100% mana, because you never know when this fight's going to kind of go south and you need a bigger mana pool, right? So it looks like everything is going great at this point. The boss is we'll retarget him in a second here, I'm sure. This guy is just getting hit by random ads. I'm probably going to end up retargeting. Yeah, okay. So everything is going great. And we have 80% mana, but like I said, anything can happen. Basically what happens is if these bosses ever get close, right, they heal. And that's why you always want to be ahead on mana, because one common scenario, right, is the mages are trying to keep ignite on these bosses to do maximum damage, right? So what happens is the mages are, and I believe only the melee guy takes melee damage, the caster guy takes caster damage. So the mages are always going to be on the caster that you see here that just swapped in. What's going to happen is what's going to happen is that the mage can sometimes have threat on this guy when he swaps sides. So when the caster swaps, if the ignite is still on the boss and it's not dropped, before the warlock actually is able to get threat, the ignite can pull the caster ad back onto the mage. So basically what will happen is the mage will be damaging this boss, right? The caster one. Let's say this is the caster one. And then it swaps sides and goes to the other side. Now, the ignite is still on because it didn't drop, and the mages are running over here basically to get back in range to continue damage. But the mob is running now towards this side of the arena because it has aggro on the mages, which were over here before it swapped. So that's really bad because then it gets into range and both bosses heal. So if stuff like that happens, you need to have the mana to be able to outlast, because the bosses are probably going to come back together for a couple seconds and they're going to heal a little bit, and then they get dragged back to their position when people kind of recover. So that's obviously really bad. So this is I was wrong about calling the swaps. This is still the... Okay, so now it just swapped, okay? It just swapped. The caster just swapped onto this side. Let's see. Okay, so... It looks like that the other boss actually had our Warlock targeted. Oh, no, okay, it's just the targeting delay on this guy. So this guy, yeah, okay. He still had, like, quote-unquote aggro on this guy on the swap, but it's just because the targeting swap is a little bit delayed. So immediately, our Warlock... Oh, actually, it's on the mage, you can see. See, he's targeting our mage here. Oh, did somebody pre-shield that mage? Oh, it's probably because he had, like, mana barrier or something on, so that's why he didn't take the hit from that. And you see that our tank dies. This is on the other side of the room. So on a swap, you have to be careful because sometimes the melee boss does that thing where he basically, like, double attacks or whatever. I think it's because, again, like, he was in range of somebody. On the swap, he's not in range of somebody anymore. The moment somebody gets in range of him from not being in range, it triggers this, like, buildup of attacks. So you want to have your tank in position right off the rip so that doesn't happen. But you also want to be healing him, and you probably actually want to have a pre-shield on him for the swap, ideally. So what you can do is you can pre-shield, like, when you know the melee ad is about to swap to your side, you should have a pre-shield on the tank on your side. Right? Because what happens there is you want the power... you want the weakened soul to fall off of him. Okay? And then you're able to shield him immediately. So if you pre-shield him, like, let's say, like, 15 seconds before the swap, right? Then weakened soul will fall off. He'll still have the shield on. If the boss does one of those multi-attack things on your tank, he'll have a much better chance of surviving it, and then you can immediately shield him if you need to as well. So let's say he does an unbalancing strike into 2 autos, something like really worst case scenario, right? It's like an attack buildup and he unbalancings. Maybe he actually lives that if he has a pre-shield, and you can get a power word shield out immediately so that the next follow-up attack doesn't kill the tank. So pre-shielding the tank before the swap is actually good as long as it doesn't put weakened soul on them, essentially. So this guy is now... We have now the caster out on my side. He's properly aggroed onto the Warlock. You notice that, like, even though this tank died and there's kind of chaos on the other side, we don't abandon our position unless a call is made that, like, we need specifically more heals to go out on that side, okay? So, like, don't make us a bad situation worse by completely neglecting your assignment to go try and bail out a problem that was created. Because remember, like, this isn't something you can instantly help out on, right? You have to walk all the way back to the other side before you can even start healing people there. So there's going to be a big delay. Also, you notice, actually, hold on, let's go back for a little second there. Yeah, so I have, this is where my fire potion comes. You see I have a fire potion here, 19 minutes on it. This is a greater fire. And this bug actually... Okay, yeah, so it gets big here. I don't see it. Bad on me. But you see that he has plenty of time to move. He gets big, and I have plenty of time to move. I don't. And that's the exploding bug mechanic. So don't get hit by that. My mistake. This is also why you have a fire protection potion, right? Because if you have one of these on you, and they cost like 2 gold, basically it prevents you from taking, like, this hit me for probably like 2 to 3k, probably 2 point something k. So I get really big chunked if that hits me, and I have to redivert a heal away from the tank onto myself to make sure if I get hit by something else, I don't die, right? So, don't get hit by this, but it's worth to have a fire protection potion, because now, even though I made a mistake, I don't pay for it at all, and I don't even have to change what I'm doing. And it's unlikely that I'm going to make multiple mistakes in a fight, right? So basically, this potion completely erased that tiny mistake that I made. See, this is another one. It got big. It's going to explode, see? There's a weak aura you can actually download. I think it might be in the AQ weak aura pack that lets you know if you have a exploding guy around you. Yeah, just healing. You see Blizzard. Interestingly enough, Blizzard shows on the frame, in this case, before the damage ticks. So I instantly shield this guy, and you're going to see him take damage. See, the shield immediately went off. It saved him a good chunk of health there. The Blizzard on this fight hits really hard, so it actually is worth also having a Greater Frost Protection Potion as well as a Greater Fire Protection Potion. So we're just healing the Warlock. Oh, this is a very good... so this is not ideal, right? But it is a good reaction by me. So I should have a shield on him beforehand, okay? So a little bit of a mistake by me. But the swap happens, right? I go back to healing him, and I shield him immediately because I'm worried about him not having a shield. And it instantly... He gets hit by a huge imbalancing strike and loses a ton of HP. So it was good that I had the shield. Now, if I had the shield on before him, like I was talking about before, right? I could instantly reshield him again, and he'd be even safer than he is now, right? Because now he would actually have a shield still on him, and he would have be at the same HP threshold, right? Because he would have had it blocked from the shield. So I'm starting to cast on him. We save him, right? This is an example of why we should... Now I have a bug on me. I just shield myself a little bit. I should have just faded there. This is, again, this is a grief by me. Like, I could save this guy. Actually, is my shield up? Oh, I think what happens actually is I do try and shield him. Okay, so we'll watch it back again, right? Okay, we're healing. So I heal this guy. And I get hit. So I shield myself to just have a buffer in case something else hits me. Probably wasn't really necessary to do this, but because the bug... This is an example of how bugs can cause cascading problems, okay? So that bug hits me. It causes me to react by shielding myself. Now, whether or not you want to say this is a proper reaction, it's fine, right? You can say it's a mistake, but I shield myself. Now my shield cooldown is up, right? Oh, actually, it looks like it's going to be fine. Okay, no, yeah. So I just troll here by... My shield actually is still up, and I just don't... I try and heal him instead. This is actually such a... It's actually such a grief play because on top of the fact that I should just be shielding him anyway... He has Blood Fury on, so again, like this like I'm stuck in like a really bad pattern now of like I think I've just been jaded so many times of like casting a shield on somebody and the aggro swaps back immediately because I play with good tanks that you know, like I've developed this actual bad habit of reserving my shield when in reality you should just be chucking it out. So that's really bad play by me. I could have saved him. Could have saved his buffs, so... So, yeah, that fight ends there. It's actually really unfortunate because he died. He really didn't have to die. It was, like, totally my fault. Especially at the end of the fight like that. It just sucks to die at the end of the fight, so... More trolling by me here. You're seeing a great example of like what not to do. Okay. So alright, so these pulls, these are like the toughest pulls in the instance. Now they actually told people to boon. I'm very confident on these packs, so I don't boon here. Because I don't really care. Also, like, if I have to do Ouro or Cthulhu or whatever, unbooned, it's not the end of the world for me anyway. But basically, you want to play in the back. Because there's two sets of threats. There's a threat from the Slayers, which are the little, like, things with the beady-looking wings. And then there's the Mind Slayers, which are kind of like the big, goofy-looking guys. Not the biggest guy, so... This guy is a champion, I believe it's called. These are the Mind Slayers. The things with the... they look blue or whatever. They'll have different obviously look on them depending on what they're being hit by at the time. But these guys mind control, and they mind flay, and they also, the mind flay does crazy damage. The mind control is obviously really bad because nobody wants to be mind controlled. Can't be dispelled, I'm pretty sure. And on top of that, they do a fear when they die in like a large, like 30-yard radius. So you want to be, I don't know if it's exactly 30 yards, but it's pretty far. So you want to be away from these guys, but you also want to be away from the Slayers. Typically how things are going to work is they're going to bring the Slayers to one side. They're going to bring the Mind Flayers to another side. They're going to split the pack. And then you kill the Slayers first. You kill the champion, and you kill the Mind Slayers last. Because the idea is you don't want to kill the Mind Slayers first. Because if you kill them, people are going to get feared. Right? So you basically just eat the fears and then kill these guys last is the typical kind of like boomer strat. So you just stay in the back here, and you're healing your tank, or you're healing people that are low, is the gist. Again, we're kind of being gross about using our shield here. Like, we're changing. I'm gonna do like a follow-up to this, and you're gonna see I completely retool my thinking here. I don't know, I'm being so stubborn. Like, even here, it's just like, just shield, bro. Like what are you doing? Like, we're just trolling. I don't know. This guy is gonna get he got a shield, you notice, because he's got Mind Flay on him. You can see the debuff. We should have started healing him earlier. See if we healed that Mind Flay early. That was good. And then you basically, like, this thing should be back over here. I don't know why it's... And one thing you want to be doing is you want to be looking at the Mind Slayers, because your melee are going to troll you, almost guaranteed, at some point during this fight. So, oh, you see that we actually got hit here, yeah, because they killed the mob at kind of like the wrong time. So we got feared away. He was too close. They didn't bring him back to the pack before they killed him. You notice, too, that he was still alive, while some of the other ones that were further back are actually dead, which is insane. People just have no idea what they're doing. So you want to be, like, even though you're supposed to rely on your melee to kill these properly, you want to be away from them as well. So it's kind of a mistake that I get hit there as well. So we're just getting some heals out here. Okay, again, we do the split, same thing. I actually do. See, this is why I built up that instinct, because I shield this guy, and then it actually did just get taken up, but the threat actually moved from him to somebody else. I think the only reason why the shield got absorbed here is because he got hit by another cleave from the little Slayer guy. But yeah, don't be stubborn like me. This is actually a masterclass performance of what not to do. I swear. When you try and just like flex on the pure healing meter too hard. See, like even me, I get pulled into this sometimes, and it's bad. You end up getting like too comfortable doing the raid is what it is, kind of, and then you start just being like, okay, I'm just gonna flex, and it's just never a good idea. So these guys do like a little damage to people around them. They're not really that bad. So eventually, like, once you create more space in this room, you just start running in and engaging these things. Should really have my camera facing the actual mobs here. So I have a better idea of where they are. See, that's people getting feared, but these are warriors, so they're gonna get feared no matter what, right? Because they have to stay in to kill the mobs. It just is what it is. Okay. Gonna kind of just fast forward a little bit through some of this. Okay, pull another pack. Oh, also, this is a great... these are great packs to pre-shield as well, obviously. It just depends, like, are you going to be able to get your mana back? Right, so... You also, like, you have to be careful. See, some of the fears there, that was a warrior fear. That actually feared this field because he got mind control, and warriors should be popping their Intim Shout, but of course, warriors never do what they're supposed to do. Ever. So... It is what it is. So they'll get feared. They'll like run into you. You'll feel like you'll be like way in the back, like away from the Mind Slayer. They'll get feared, run into you, and then Intim Shout like right on your head, and fear you from there. So this is the icon of the fear, by the way. You notice, see like a normal fear, it would have a blue icon. See that this is red. It means that it can't be dispelled. Basically, is the idea. Just in case somebody's like, why aren't we dispelling the fears? Same with the Intim Shout. You can't dispel that fear. See how it's red? The Tremor is what cleanse that from people. So it can... Like, Tremor breaks the fear because... Tremor breaks all fears. But Dispel is not a... it's not like a fear protection, right? It's like Fear Ward would stop that fear, I believe. I don't know if it would stop the Mind Slayer fear. But it would stop the Intim Shout fear. But Dispel is just a generic. It's dispelling the magic thing that's causing the fear. So if magic isn't causing the fear, then that's why your Dispel doesn't work, essentially. Okay, so we're walking up. Pulling another pack. Part of the philosophy, you see this one has no Mind Slayers, I think. I can make a video on how to fish this place as a priest. But the idea is that you can use Mind Vision to actually kind of go through the instance and get to this area where you see the packs here, and you can count. I think there's actually a weak or some add-on that you can get that once you're Mind Visioning, it tracks the amount of Mind Slayers that it sees in the raid, and you can keep resetting the ID until you get like a low amount of Mind Slayers, and that typically makes this easier. Now, the less Mind Slayers you get, they're going to be replaced by the Slayers. So your melee are going to be in more like, you know, kind of like danger off the rip. And they may want a Stone Shield on packs with a high amount of Slayers, but... Now you might be asking also, like, why are we not dispelling the melee? I might dispel somebody if I notice, like, a caster in the chaos, if I notice a caster gets silenced. But see, I just got feared by a warrior there. See how it's the Intim Shout. But... yeah, we're not going to worry too much about dispelling the melee because they can still use all their abilities while silenced, right? It's like a spell silence. So... Also, it's like, it would be good to dispel a caster, but sometimes these pulls are just like so hectic that you may not even notice a caster that has the silence on them, so it's just kind of like whatever. You could maybe set a weak aura that would display the debuff on the frame only when it's like a mana user or something. That'd be helpful. So this guy, this is a Mind Flay. That's why we immediately go back to heal him. Mind Flay does a lot of damage. This is just healing from the Slayers. Also, the Slayers do the silence, by the way. So this is why you notice, like, we're afraid to play up here. Normally we play up, we're afraid to play up. Because you don't want to get clipped by that silence because it's really bad. Like, obviously, people can die if you as a healer get silenced there. So the melee getting silence is fine, but you really need to stay away from the Slayers. And that's why sometimes LOS can be a bit of a problem. Because you don't want to run up too far and get hit by the silence, and then you're kind of screwed. So you have to kind of play... being cognizant of that, right? That I believe they cast the silence. Like, it's not like they don't have a radial silence that's going out all the time. So technically, once they do cast the silence, you'd be safe to move up. The problem is that when you're dealing with multiple Slayers, it can be difficult to know. Like, usually they'll silence on the pull, okay? But it's difficult to know when exactly they'll do their silence. You see, this guy's got the Mind Flay, so I target him. I dispel the sheep on the guy here. But yeah, it's difficult to know exactly like when they're gonna drop the silence. Like maybe you have 3 Slayers there, 2 of them drop the silence immediately, another one is gonna drop it 5 seconds in. So if you see silence go on the raid, and then you're like, oh, I'm safe to move up, and then you walk up, and then you get hit by the Slayer silence, then you're griefing. So you have to be careful about stuff like that. So this is more of the guys who need to be mana drained. Again, like I know our damage is really high here, and our mana drain with the hunters is fine, so I'm not really super concerned about mana draining these, but you may need to mana drain them for your specific instance, right? So it actually kind of sort of depends. Like I believe the Vipers stack, so if you have like more than 1 hunter, then and you have high damage, it's not really a problem. These guys do a bunch of debuffs. Sometimes they can silence you. They'll have like a silence. You see, like that's we actually resisted it because we have like a chance to resist silence. So it was actually bad that we were standing there. You should be kind of like max range on these guys, because I think you can outrange the silence. But I actually would have ate it there, and it potentially would have been bad for our tank. But instead, I got lucky and we resisted silence with a talent. So again, just more of the guys that you would mana burn. But they die so fast, they just melt. These guys do, I think this lowers nature resist. I forget exactly what this does. It's not like imperative to get off though. It falls off by itself pretty quickly. They also do an AoE root. I actually shield that hunter properly. Nice. But yeah, like they also do like an AoE root that also has a pretty quick expiration, but it may be in your interest to dispel it, especially on like tanks and yourself and stuff like that, in order to move to the next pack quicker. So not much going on here, just kind of cleaning up this guy. I believe that these guys don't do like a, they don't swap their abilities. So for example, actually it looks like this guy just did, huh? So maybe they can swap their ability. That's the root. I'm not sure if they're like the other Anubisaths and they have an innate ability, or if they can swap at any time. So to be honest, it's better to just stay away from them. Like I shouldn't be playing as close as I am to them, because in the event that they do silence, it's obviously bad, right? There's just no... I cast Greater Heal on that guy because he's coming in from the back and I know that he's not in danger of dying. I was kind of low mana, so I can innervate there. That's nice. You can see that the silence range is not like huge. We shield the shaman there because he was under the effect of the Mind Flay. Yeah, so the silence range is not like huge, but you still need to be careful. It can be very easy to get silenced, especially when you notice that this is like an uphill area, right? So what happens is when people are fighting stuff on the top of the hill and you're trying to walk up to them, that tends to be when you have the greatest chance of catching a bad silence. So we're just polishing people off here. think all of the main... Oh no, it looks like that's going to be... Yeah, there's one more pack of... There's a lot of these Slayer packs. Some guilds may actually just clear the... Or they do this skip where you can, like, death skip to Ouro. You basically have somebody... you basically have the raid alive at Twin Emps, and then a hunter engages Ouro, and it basically, like, teleports everybody to Ouro, and you just have somebody onk or something. But we're just doing it... We're showing you the full run because obviously that's kind of like the point of this guide, right? Like, yeah, see, we should kind of... Oh, we did shield him, nice, okay. See, this is a perfect example of it. We actually casted a shield and it does nothing, but it's better that it did nothing. It's fine, right? Okay, he just got destroyed. I could have saved him if I would have cast, just used the shield. One thing, too, is, like, when you're deciding whether to flash heal somebody or whether to shield them, we've concluded from this raid that most of the time you're probably better off shielding them. But something that will really make the difference is kind of what class they are, right? So if they're a warrior, it makes a little bit more sense, potentially, to try and, especially if they're flash and everything like that, to try and flash heal. But if they're like something like a shaman or a caster, you really want to be probably shielding them, because even though a shaman you think of as technically having mail, the problem is that he doesn't actually have mail on, most likely, right? He's using whatever his best healing gear is, so he may not even have a shield on, so he actually doesn't have anywhere near as much armor as you think, and that kind of goes with most of these classes. So it's better to just play safe and then cast a shield on him. This guy is... he's impressed with my healing. He's certainly more impressed than I am watching his back. This is not great, but... Okay, we actually do the shield properly there, nice. These guys are actually doing a lot of damage. This is why, like, if you have the damage, or if you have the mana drain already on the Sphinx guys, it doesn't actually hurt to heal here, right? Like, if there's no way that those guys are going to explode without you mana draining, then it's actually just worth it for you to heal. Because they can get dangerous, you know, it just... We're just dispelling this because there's nothing else to do here, and the tank, like, there's only one person taking damage, he's getting tons of heals. But, you know, that's not like a priority to dispel at all. You can see that that was a DPS warrior that had threat on that, and when you don't have an actual tank fighting these things, they can take a lot of damage, so... I'm just empathizing with him that we have so many shamans, so many chain heals. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... We have 8 shamans, right? That's crazy. We have 8 shaman, 1 resto druid. Yeah, so we have like 12 healers, and 8 of them are shaman. That guy just pulled threat and died. Okay. Not really a ton to see here. Yeah, they're not really concerned about getting threat back on those kind of intermediary mobs. So now we're going to Ouro. So on Ouro, this is a boss that kind of got like pulled quicker than I thought. We made a little bit of a mistake here. But pre-shielding on Ouro is nice, but this is a fight where it's kind of way more of a luxury, so you want to get a bunch of pre-shields, but you do want to take your count very seriously, because you need to be in the front for when the tank actually makes contact, because this boss is like... This is one of the hardest hitting bosses in the game, honestly. I think it's more because he does a bunch of thrashing, and he does like double attacks. Like it's because like whenever he does a sweep, it seems like right after the sweep he's about to crush the next person because he gets that like store attack BS. It seems like he's storing a bunch of attacks while he's underground and about to make first contact as well. Just like not a very well programmed boss, I would say. This is like one of the worst bosses in the game, for sure. This is like one of the bosses that is like the most intimidating to heal. You see, we're just griefing here though. Like we're talking to this guy, we're not really paying attention, and we're applying our buffs at the last second. We don't have any pre-shields out because we're trolling. We're not on our mount going into the boss, which it looks like it's kind of going to be okay, but like what you're going to realize is these tanks are going to be afraid. So we look fine here, right? The problem is the tank is going to grab this and immediately he's going to keep going. So the moment you stop to heal, you're kind of screwed. Watch, you'll see it. See? Like, he's immediately out of range. Like, it looks like we're going to be able to heal him fine. The guy who makes first contact shouldn't be him anyway, but now Kobe has it. We're kind of in range. See, Zexus has it. Like, it's tricky. Like, you want to be moving with the pack, and we're trolling by not being on a mount. So, just kind of is what it is. Just a lot of mistakes here. So, what we do here is we find it's finally back on Shunsway, right? So we know now that this is going to be our main tank, at least for a bit before the until the Sandblast happens, because Sandblast can aggro reset, so a lot of times they'll swap to somebody else if they don't whip one of the other melee. But so now we're inching back in. We find the max distance because we're not in sweep range if we do that. You can actually still be in sweep range depending on where the tank is. So Shunsway is a good tank. He understands how to do this fight. So where he's standing is a spot where I can heal him and still not be in sweep range. It's possible for a tank to be in a spot where he's like so far back, he's not close enough to the boss. I have to stand closer to heal him. And no matter where I stand, I'm getting hit by sweep. So what we do is we're healing him. And we start to move a little bit, but we think we're safe here. And I think we actually get knocked. Yeah, we get knocked because we're like right at the edge. So maybe he actually wasn't in the right position. I mean, he's still a fantastic tank. It can happen, like, you know, like some of the tolerances for where you have to be standing on this fight are very slim. So it's whatever. It's also possible I was not in the right position. Like, I could have been maybe at a better angle to him. Again, if I had my camera actually, like, looking at what's going on, it'd be better, right? So we're running back in, and the main thing here is you want to... I heal myself there because I'm a little bit afraid. Sometimes he'll do a follow-up breath after the knock, which is obviously really bad if you're low. If one of the warriors here pulls threat at that exact time, it's really bad. And they probably will pull threat because the sweep, I think, can... I don't know if it's... I think it's the sweep that reduces threat, or maybe both of them do. But the whole... I think the Sandblast is actually what reduces threat, but if the tank doesn't get back in time for whatever reason, which he should be able to, but then one of these other people can pull threat very easily, or if, like, basically somebody intercepts back in at the same time the tank intercepts back in and then hits the boss with, like, a huge crit or something, it could turn the boss to face us and then have him sandblast us. So that's why I heal myself there, but realistically you want to get back to the boss as quickly as possible, and you see I start healing on Zexus, and then he basically gets out of range, and I don't get to heal him, and I put a shield on him, which is actually bad, because now he has weakened soul. Oh, he's got aggro on the boss. So now I am, you see that I see the sweep now on the cast bar, and I walk away. That's what you should be doing every time. We griefed on the first one. So, healing, healing, healing. You want to keep the boss targeted so you can see not only the cast timer, but who he's attacking, right? I don't know if we're getting another sweep or not. I get a shield on him. That was good. We're healing him. Yeah, we didn't get another thing. One thing to keep in mind is that this popcorn stuff does a lot of damage to people. That's what they call it. Like just the gravel that pops up off the ground. So you want to be healing people. Also, this is going to spawn ads eventually. You see they're spawning somewhere. So yeah. Then we're just running to Cthulhu. I'm getting my emblem here. Okay. So actually, okay. So I'll actually rewind this like a second because I want to teach you guys how to go in. So this is a fight that, out of all the fights in the instance, I would say Ouro probably. You could there's a nature protection potion is useful on Visc technically, Bug Trio, and then Arcane Protection is useful on the first encounter, Prophet Skeram. And then Ouro, though, and this fight are where Greater Nature Protections have the most use. This is probably the fight where it actually has the most use out of all, because on the other fights, it's basically just a little bit of, it saves you mana, right? But it doesn't really do anything other than save you mana, because you're going to be able to heal yourself back anyway if you didn't use one. Now, the problem on this fight is that a Nature Protection can be the difference in you taking lethal or not, and I think you actually might get to see that here. So you see I have a Greater Nature Protection popped, and basically how this fight works is you're going to do a countdown, right, from 30 or whatever, and your tank is going to go in first, and he is going to eat the green I-beam from Cthulhu. He's going to kind of distract him. Then other people are going to filter in. But if they don't filter in the right way, it's very possible for you to take damage and die. So we're going to kind of watch how this happens. We'll actually watch this in like 7.5 to just show you. So the thing's counting down. We put a pre-shield on him. So you don't want a pre-shield once he walks into the room, right? Because then it can like mess up aggro, and the boss can actually aggro onto you prematurely, and he can actually target you from inside the room. So you want to have a pre-shield on before, like we did. And then see I-beam on Shunsui. So he's getting hit by the first I-beam. He has my pre-shield. You're going to see it go away. Actually, maybe. I think it doesn't even... It does very little damage to the first target. So it probably didn't even do enough damage to remove my shield. Okay? And we should actually be moving already. I don't know what we're doing. Why are we... Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, we're we're on something, this raid. But, like... So the problem is if we were moving right away, right... We'd been able to be on our bug longer because this whole group wouldn't be in combat. You see that somebody else is still on their bug here. And we'd be able to get deeper in by the time this guy decides to target other people. Now the problem is instead of being on Shunsui, he is probably going to hit somebody else. Because what he does in this phase is he basically just keeps turning to people and using the I-beam on them. And the I-beam chains, and the more people it hits, the more damage it does. So after like 3 or 4 people, it's basically lethal. So what you're going to see happen here, right, is he's targeting I-beam on FBI, and we're screwed at this point. Like, I guess we should have actually, we should have probably, like, ran to the corner more. But you see it hits him. It's actually crazy that it does so much damage to me. It only hit one other target. I don't know why it hit me for, like, 3k there. But that's kind of crazy. And if we didn't have our nature pot there, we probably die. Maybe there's multiple people here. Oh, that's why. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So, yeah, we're just trolling here. We should have been in faster. I don't know. You're getting to see all the mistakes this raid, man. This is a good one to commentate. For sure. So we immediately bring ourselves back up and we kind of get into our position now. You're going to have your positions pre-marked out on a map that somebody will show you before. So you basically just look at the kind of like where how the room is positioned, right? And you'll be able to see like where you're supposed to run on the diagram. Usually they'll always mark like the front and the back. So they'll mark like the area you come in from, so they make it really easy for you. And yeah, so we're just here doing some heals. You see that the melee were in a bad position and all of them die because they chained the debuff on everybody here. And people are like freaking out in Discord right now. This guy almost dies. I think they're still too close. I think these markers are too... I'm not sure, but... You'll see these tentacles pop up. They kind of just create random mischief. They knock people. One of the sketchiest things that can happen in this fight is those little tentacles can knock you into somebody else as the I-beam's coming out, and that's really bad. So, I mean, sometimes if that happens, it's just really bad RNG. You know, there's not all that much you can do. So we're just kind of working our way to the back because the boss is doing Dark Glare. It basically started on us, which is when he'll pick a direction, and then he'll do this beam, and he'll just rotate around. Now, while he's doing this beam, he can't do the I-beam stuff. So that means you're free to just, like, kind of run wherever you want. You have to be careful running, like, really close to the inside. Because if you're really close, like, if you're running inside the boss and a tentacle spawns and knocks you, you can get knocked into this beam really easily and just insta-killed. So there's that. You don't want to be close to the beam, so you don't want to be over here, for example, right? You want to be running away because if a tentacle spawns here and knocks you, it can knock you into the beam, right? So the main thing here is, like, you should easily be able to avoid the I-beam itself. Obviously, very simple mechanic, but if you get knocked into it, it's bad, and you want to be in a spot where you can't get knocked into it. These tentacles, they spawn, and they do like a mind play on people. You'll see it as the fight goes on, just appear on unit frames. This is actually trolling what I'm doing right here. We need to be moving more. Sometimes you'll get like 2 of these phases. So basically this rotates 180 degrees, and you want to be... Most strategies will call... See how that just knocked a bunch of people? Most strategies will call for you to go back to the spot you were in. So you basically, you just over-rotate and then like run all the way around like I'm doing, and you would end up back in the spot you were in. Like we were basically right here. The boss is going to die, though, before the thing ends, so we don't really care. You have to be careful to see how the boss is not technically dead. There's a little bit of a buffer time, but he will go back to I-beaming people. So there's a bunch of people clumped up right now. So if they don't kill him really fast, people are going to get destroyed. See, he's about to cast the I-beam. He almost cast the I-beam, and it probably, if it would have targeted one of these people, it would have did like a huge collat. But luckily they kill the boss, and he would have died even faster if we didn't have these people dead. So like it's very easy to one phase if you have your raid alive and you have a good comp with people doing high damage. But if you don't have a good comp, you're gonna have to do it multiple times. So just make sure you end up in the position that you were in. And there's another strategy you can do where you basically you do a perfect 180 degree rotation, but that tends to confuse people more, in my opinion. So it's easier just to have people over-rotate and get back to the original spot. This tentacle needs to be tanked and like stunned and killed. And basically, in this phase, you're not doing anything as a healer outside of just healing random people. Again, I'm trolling here. I think that guy might have been out of range or something. I don't know, because it gave me the icon like it wouldn't even let me start a heal on him. Maybe we were out of line of sight. But what's going to happen is, see, this tentacle pops up, and it pulls somebody into the stomach. I think you're actually going to get to see me go into the stomach in this fight, which is kind of good. But basically, you stand outside and you heal. And you don't want to be too close to other people because you get knocked like that, which is really bad because it delays your healing on other people. And the Mind Flay tentacles also spawn. See how this guy's got Mind Flay on him? He's taking a bunch of damage. So we're just healing that guy. Probably should just shield him there. Of course, we shield after the Mind Flay is done because we're playing like we're on drugs today. We were really tired when we played this raid, to be fair, but we're playing particularly grief. And the person gets swallowed into the stomach. We shield this guy immediately. Good. Heal this guy. So we get swallowed here, actually. Doesn't look like it, but you'll see. So we get poured into the stomach. So all you have to do here is there's going to be 2 tentacles. They already killed 1, right? And basically when these tentacles die, that means that the boss goes into his vulnerable phase. Right now the boss is basically invulnerable. You have to kill these 2 tentacles inside the stomach to make him vulnerable. So we're in here, and as a healer, you want to get out of here as quick as possible. So we just run to the platform, and now we're just jumping across, and you jump on this little section, and it shoots you out. Now, if there's DPS in here, you want to heal them up before you leave. The idea, I believe, is that there can only be so many people in the stomach at a time. So if you have like 3 people in the stomach, and they're staying in the stomach, no new people are going to come in. And you see that you get a stacking buff when you're in the stomach, and I think if you're in the goo here, it goes up even faster, but it's gonna go up regardless. So the longer you're in here, this keeps going up, and you take more and more damage. So eventually you'll just die in here if you stay in here too long. And the idea is that you don't want healers in here because they don't really do good damage to the tentacles. And as long as the healers that do get in here run out immediately and heal the people on the way out, that's more than enough heals. And you need to be rotating, getting healers out of there quickly because you want more DPS to get in. So that's why we're immediately running out. There's actually nobody. I think 3 healers in a row got put in, so that's really unlucky. So we're just like trying to get out as quickly as possible. We put a shield on ourselves in case something happens to us when we leave. And immediately we have these eye stalk tentacles. We're just trying to get back to a spot where we can heal a bunch of people. Somebody else gets pulled in here late on that shield. Just healing. Okay, so I'm just cheesing on the healing meter here. So what happened is they killed the tentacle inside, so the boss turns purple, and you can see we're actually able to do damage to him now. I'm just kind of like padding here because I know we have more than enough damage to kill the boss, but you would actually be like, if you were afraid that you didn't have damage to kill this, you would be like mind blasting, smiting, etc. You have to be a little bit careful because, like, let's say your guild has really bad damage or too many people die in phase 1. Right, so you have a really low amount of people for these invulnerability phases. At that point, I recommend you actually do not DPS. Because what you want to do is you want to regen your mana. Because healing the people outside of the boss can actually be very mana consuming if you're doing this like round after round after round. So you have to be careful and conserve your mana in those situations. But if you know you're going to one phase the boss, then yeah, you can just start spamming into the boss with damage. You can wand it, you can mind blast, you can smite. I would say no matter what, it's probably recommended. You see I'm wanding here. Like once you get the people healed up, there's no reason not to wand the boss. Doesn't do much, but should also probably have Shadow Word Pain on it. That's somebody else's Shadow Word Pain. I'm kind of trolling. I would not put Devouring Plague on it if your mana is going to be a concern because it does takes a lot of mana. But, and my belt drops, Grasp of the Old God. So what we do here is we log out and we just sit in the screen for 5 minutes. And then it puts us at the start of the instance. And we're going to go to the bug trio here. So this is a fight where you start out with a bunch of pre-shields. We run in. You actually want to be watching the tanks. I wasn't watching the tanks at the start because I'm a troll in this raid, apparently. This might be like the single worst raid. You can see I'm so tired because like I don't even instantly cleanse the fear. But you should actually be like... standing away. So the problem is I think this is the one that fears, and they're tanking the other bosses behind him. And the issue is that if you're like too far away, you won't be able to heal the tank, right? But if you're too close, you get feared. So I think you can actually outrange this fear. Kind of bad play on me, but if you're undead or whatever, you can just break it. You can actually also equip if you have a trinket that breaks fear on whatever class you are for these fights, you can just equip that if you have like a not good trinket in a slot. Like I would actually use that over something like a UBRS trinket on a fight like this. It's going to allow you to do way more healing in case you get caught by a fear. So we're kind of we cleansed some of the people that we could that are in range of us, and then we're back on the tank here. We tried to shield him, I think, but we realized it was a weakened soul, so... Which is very... Yeah, we had the icon on him already, so we're just trolling there. So I'm noticing the mages are kind of getting aggro a lot, so I'm just casting some shields on them. So it actually looks like the other guy did the fear, and he was the... I guess we were taking him in the back to try and give more space, but I ended up getting feared anyway, because I'm just griefing. Get an innervate on this fight, but we didn't really need it. Oh, that was actually very interesting. So this guy charges around. That's why I was like targeting the shaman here, because he can actually do quite a bit of damage with this charge, but there was already a shield on him beforehand, I think, so he didn't take that much damage. And basically what happens is the order that you do this on, it empowers the last guy. So we're empowering this guy, and I think we just killed... Oh no, we're bringing him closer to be... Okay, so we're healing Jack. We go and we get a heal on this guy. Kree dies. I think that's Kree, the red one. And immediately you see Jack just get completely destroyed. We should have been on this, pre-casting heals on him. Yeah, just another mistake, basically, because once that guy dies, they enrage. So you see I actually do get a shield on him, which is good. But he just gets blown up, so... And this guy, oh, this is the one who does the volley, basically. And you see that a bunch of people are standing in the poison, like they get marked by the poison, that's why they end up dying. So you just heal people after this fight, right? This is it's kind of like a reason why they didn't want to do this fight early, because there is like an increased chance of people dying. Especially people are not used to doing this. We hadn't done this one before, so you see people are walking in to try and loot the thing, and they're getting destroyed by the poison still. So it's just like a clown show. But yeah, that's basically the whole instance. So a lot of mistakes. We griefed quite a bit, but we had a smooth run in spite of that. Like overall, we didn't like completely troll. Like we were trying in the raid, but we were really tired, I think, and we didn't really play well, to be honest. So that's on me. Could have definitely went cleaner, but we still did an okay job, and we got it done. So that's the priest AQ40 walkthrough, and I think this is one that you should watch for sure. I mean, because there's a lot of value here to be taken from all the mistakes that were made. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I might do like since this one was kind of like so many mistakes, I might do a one where I review one that actually went a lot better from like my perspective and show you guys what it would look like to execute properly. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned a lot from this. I think there's a lot to be learned, and there's a lot to learn from this. And yeah, thanks for watching. If this helped, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys next time. See you.